Hello and welcome to day 2 of the Art Heals Bootcamp. I am going to be talking to you about different ways to use art for emotional regulation and ways to maybe help you to feel calmer if you're feeling agitated and stressed, or help you to boost your mood if you're feeling flat and down and maybe lacking energy. So far I am really pleased to see how many people are getting on and showing up and sharing pictures of your art, sharing kind of challenges, saying things like, even though we weren't really sure what to do, we've kind of embraced this and it feels good that you're bringing your friends along. And I really feel pleased that you're able to, in some ways, however this fits for you, step out of your comfort zone. So hi Kelly. So in the video tonight, I'm going to be doing a little bit of art myself, as well as talking about like how emotional regulation fits in with art and art therapy, and how recognizing your own energy levels and your emotional state of mind, I suppose, or emotional, like how you feel, can affect your mood, can affect how you then live your life. So depending on where you're at energetically and emotionally, art can be really helpful. So first of all, I would say that however you're feeling, whatever you're thinking, whatever you're experiencing, your emotions are valid. And sometimes people have assumptions about emotions, saying that certain things shouldn't be felt. Maybe certain emotions are more accepted than others, but essentially your emotions are valid, and whatever you're feeling, whatever experiences have maybe impacted on your mood, that's absolutely fine. And part of the benefits of creating art, and what I do with my art therapy clients, is to help them to be able to not only just make art and express themselves and make some art for fun and for the sake of making art, but it has real benefits of being able to process emotions and regulate emotions. So I'm going to start to create something and talk about the different things that might be going on in your nervous system. So if you've heard of fight or flight and freeze, then this might not come as a surprise to you. If this is new, those words are unfamiliar, I'll tell you a little bit about this. So when people talk about fight or flight, what they are saying is about something that's going on in your nervous system, in your body, that is causing you to react to a situation in a way that your body and your brain, your nervous system, feels is helpful. Sometimes these reactions might be a reaction to a stressful situation, maybe a reaction to something scary or something that you perceive to be scary. Things like your heart beating faster is the nervous system's way of preparing you to then run. If maybe back in, like say if you were going across the road and a car was coming, you might pick the speed up and run. If you were being chased by an animal back in caveman days, then your nervous system will prepare you to run and prepare you for that action. And ultimately, it's that preparation and that protectiveness that our nervous systems have that causes a lot of the reactions. The problem is that sometimes our behaviours aren't necessarily, and our nervous system responses aren't necessarily matching the feeling. So it might be that we might be stressed about something in our lives, and we want to shift that emotion. We want to shift that. So if you're being sort of agitated up here, I would imagine, like, see it as this top part is about being hyper aroused. So feelings of fight and flight fit there, feelings of anger, anxiety, agitation, that's my agitation action, feelings of stress, overwhelm can be there. And that sort of, that domain of hyper arousal. On the opposite side, underneath down here, is that experience of hypoarousal. So much like, say, with diabetes and sugar, you'd have hyper if you've got too much sugar, hypo if you've got too little. So hypoaroused fits in with emotions like depression, sadness, withdrawal, tiredness, exhaustion, and that matches up with the nervous system going into freeze. So sometimes it might be that some people, say, have a really busy day during the day. Some children go to school and they're busy, and then get home and just flop in front of the TV and literally can't do anything, really struggle to do anything. And that's being in that freeze zone. And the same might happen if you struggle to get up in the morning. You might be in that freeze zone. The bit in the middle is our sort of window of tolerance, it can be called in some ways, but that I would align to being in flow, focused and in flow. And that's what we're maybe striving towards. And when we're balanced and in flow, then you can actually feel more ready to take action on the things that you enjoy in your life, more likely to speak up, to tell somebody your opinion about something. You're more likely to and maybe more able to do something that takes a bit of courage, to step out of your comfort zone a little bit, maybe do something new for the first time. So the idea of using art to help with emotional regulation is that you can choose and learn what works for you. You can decide what sort of things, what sort of art you can do or you want to do, and you learn and work out what helps you. So one way of figuring that out is simply by starting to make something. So the task I said to you this morning was about fast and slow, big and small. So the idea of that is it's encouraging you a little bit of an open challenge, a bit of an open task. There wasn't a set thing that you had to draw. Some people drew abstract patterns and designs. Some people drew animals and people, and like thinking about the symbols of fast and slow. And that was the whole thing of that, is to connect with an understanding of what works for you to experiment and test out things. So if I'm feeling and then to test those things out now, test those things out when you're feeling grounded, when you're feeling regulated, so that when you're feeling agitated or down and low mood, you might then be able to remember, actually, what I could do with doing now is some artwork to maybe shift my energy levels and shift where I'm at. So one of the things that I would be thinking is that typically when people are feeling stressed and anxious about something, agitated, one of the worst things people can say is calm down, calm down. That can be really annoying for people. It can be really stressful. So and the same thing, we can feel the same thing when we tell ourselves to calm down. It can cause us to maybe feel frustrated, or recognise any judgment when you're sort of shifting into that. However, if you allow yourself to accept the feelings, the emotions that you're experiencing in that time, and tolerate them, welcome them in, nurture them, learn a little bit and recognize why you might be feeling like that. Why might you be feeling agitated or overwhelmed when something's happened? Why might you be questioning things? Or why might you be unable to sleep when you've got a lot on your mind? And like, have that sense of, okay, that maybe something about being kind and compassionate to yourself. Be kind to yourself. If you're feeling stressed, then the work isn't simply about stopping you from feeling stressed and changing that emotion, because all that does is it pushes it away and then it keeps coming back. But if you were to allow that feeling to be present, that thought, those thoughts around that to be present, then you can learn to sit with that and have more of an opportunity to make those changes and to shift and take action that's opposite to what you're feeling. So I've just been doing this sort of doodly scribble on here. I'm holding it up a little bit higher, and I'm wanting to sort of invite you, as part of today's tasks as well, to get as big a sheet of paper as you can and draw things in a freestyle way. So that sort of looks a bit like a figure of 8 thing. See if you can move your elbow and your shoulder to draw with. Perhaps put one really common exercise that a lot of art therapists do is bilateral drawing. So holding a pastel or a crayon or something in both hands and then drawing with that. And one of the things that you might notice is something being symmetrical. You might decide that it works like that, or it might be that actually one goes up, one goes down. You could do things in a bit of a random way. It might be then that you look at some of these things and you think, okay, well, I'm not so keen on how it looks, but I like how it feels to draw those things. So I'm going to do more of this heavy marks. It might be that just sheerly like having even like a whole piece that you've scribbled on, that might be what you need to express that emotion and to get rid of that, to discharge those emotions from your body, from your nervous system. Now, I'm not going into much detail about the nervous system here because I'm wanting you to focus on creating something. There's so much theory about the brain and the body and the nervous system and emotions, and a lot of the big scientists don't even agree with what goes on with our emotions. Or if you were to ask one of the top scientists what an emotion actually is, they would be maybe arguing about it and not necessarily what's the thought. There would be lots of things like that can still be very confusing for people. So whilst we can talk more about that in another video, in another space, right now I'm wanting to encourage you to create. And as you are doing your drawings, maybe over the next week or over the next few months, allow yourself to make mistakes. If you call them mistakes, allow that. Allow yourself to become aware of the sort of things that you like. There, I've just put a bit of white on top of this red, and I'm quite liking how the colours sort of smudge. It reminds me of a stick of rock where you've got the colour blended. I quite like that. If you were using chalk pastels, you'd have a different effect because they blend differently. So I'm encouraging you to test things out. So one of the things that I speak about a lot is how testing out new things in your art is a really good way to provide evidence that you can do hard things. Provide your body and your brain with some proof that you can handle things when they go wrong. And for somebody that's maybe experiencing a lot of anxiety a lot of worries about maybe pressure. Sometimes it could be pressure that you place it on yourself. Other times it could be pressure that you have gained from the world, from society, from family, from your own beliefs that you're maybe holding on to from the past, anything like that. But allow yourself to make those mistakes. And say if you were to think, okay, I'm not keen on this piece and I'm actually tolerating, or it could, for somebody, I've worked with a lot of people who really struggle to tolerate anything that doesn't look neat, anything that doesn't look like a particular thing, or that doesn't look like they planned it to be. And that can be really stressful for some people, and it can be unhelpful for if I've said, well, try and make it messy on purpose, that will be really unhelpful. So encouraging people to subtly accept those subtle changes. So something like, oh, actually we've got some bits of paint there that might be a bit wobbly, a bit of an uneven line. Some parts have gone a bit grey, some parts are more intense, and I'm making this without a plan. And so actually, if you have a bit of a plan and it doesn't go according to plan, then one of those things that you might do is to come up with an alternative thing that you can do on top with your art. So it might be that you kind of go, oh, okay, well, I've done this, it's not really what I want it to do, but what I might do now is I might cut it up, make this into a collage. I might paint on top of the whole thing, for instance, and scratch a picture into it. Or I might leave this one, start another one, and think, well, okay, I can go back to that when I'm feeling more grounded and ready. I might do something with paint that's dripping. Some people like to do this sort of thing if you are feeling low in mood or withdrawn in mood, or maybe just really, really tired, I suppose, then drawing in your sketchbook, say in front of the TV or even in bed, might be where your energy levels are at. However, what you might then want to shift to is doing something bigger. So use some materials that are maybe allowing something to change, allowing paint to drip, and then for like more energy to come in later on. I'm nearly spilling my cup there. So if you've got any particular colours that you want to use, we can hold the brush high up and paint like this, and that would be getting a really loose mark. And there's a high distress tolerance from you doing this. So if you're able to tolerate painting and drawing in this sort of way, that's showing maybe some resilience that you have. If you maybe are struggling with that and you're wanting to have a bit more control, what you might do is hold the brush further down, rest your hand on the table, and then paint with a bit more control. And there still might be a bit of a line going out of the shape that you were wanting, but holding your brush like that or your felt pen like that can make a big difference. So holding your pen further down, do a little circle, and doing that slowly and small compared to doing something really fast and really big. So that's part of what I set you as your task this morning. And one other thing that I mentioned, but I want to just highlight again, is the pressure that you place, the amount of pressure that you put with your hand, with whatever you're drawing with. You might even decide to draw with your feet, We could draw with your feet if you like. That's all I'm even doing with my left feet. I didn't realise I was left-footed. You can draw with your feet, you could draw with your hands, you could draw with your mouth. Anything goes. And actually, if it kind of makes you smile, and if it builds momentum, if it keeps you interested in creating, then that's a win to me. My intention and my mission is to help people to be able to express themselves more freely. And if you can regulate your emotions, and if you're making art to regulate your emotions, you will inadvertently be able to express yourself in a way that feels more authentic to you. Sometimes you might be expressing something that feels like it comes from nowhere, that feels like, whoa, hang on a minute, what was that picture? What did it even make? And it can come out of nowhere, and there might be tears, and there might be like all sorts of emotions that come up. It might be uncomfortable. And I want to just warn you about that, because making art for healing and making art for self-care and art therapy isn't necessarily going to be fun all the time. There will be challenges, because this is you activating something within, looking within, and actually what lies within can be all sorts of different thoughts and feelings. We're working with this sort of subconscious self, really, rather than just being from the head. We're working from creating something from the heart, and that's an invite to you and an appreciation of you as well, for every time you are doing something that is working in a different way, that is maybe working in a way that isn't instantly understandable, that's maybe a message that you might not understand what it is that you did. You might look at your picture and really love it, or you might look at your picture and question it. And actually, I could easily offer reassurance for you for every single piece of art that you have, how wonderful it is, how colourful it is, how much energy I see in those pictures. I've seen lots of kind of pictures today and yesterday where I do see that energy and I see that creativity really shine. I could provide that reassurance for you. However, if you are maybe questioning your art and questioning that, no amount of my reassurance will be enough. But what can help is making more art. And what can help is you being able to learn from what it is that you're doubting and reflect on that. So it might be that, well, actually, is it that I'd like to be able to make something, and like, by whose standards are you not happy with that picture, for instance? Or by what is it that your intention is? So if your intention was to create something that I don't know, that can go on the wall, or a big mural or something, or design for a pattern for something that you might kind of use on your wallpaper or something like that. If your intention was to do something that is expressive of something, or that is an artistic, aesthetic, like what it looks like intention, and then the outcome is different, my guess is that it's not that there's a problem. There's no problem with it at all. What's actually happened is that it fulfills a different need. Instead of it fulfilling the drive to be wallpaper pattern, it's met the need for personal expression, or it's met the need for you making art for emotional regulation. And when you see it that way, rather than thinking that's good or it's not good, or I'm in between, I'm just learning and being linear, when you see it that way, then all kinds of opportunities come your way, because you can actually do things where you might spend 5 minutes making something that feels like this, You might even do a bit of a dance. You could do this on the wall like this with your pastels, and that can energize you and activate you. And that is part of what emotional regulation is about. Some perceptions and myths about emotional regulation is that it's just about calming yourself down. Calm down. That's not what emotional regulation is about. It's about balance. It's about being in a space where you feel aligned, where you feel that you can step into the world and trust yourself, that you can take action that feels good for you, that you can make decisions from a place of self-belief and self-trust, that you can allow different feelings to come in without them taking over and without them becoming a big catastrophe. And that is where actually continuing to practice and be regular at making your artwork and keeping going with it, choosing if you're wanting to make some big stuff or going back to your sketchbook if you want to then do some things in your sketchbook, which I've got lots of things in here. Essentially, there's so many different opportunities for you as part of your self-development if you and when you choose to use creativity and use art as part of your self-care and as part of your self-development. Anybody can be an artist, as I keep saying. I will say that until the day I die. Everyone has creativity as part of them and can express themselves. It's down to feeling safe enough to do that and feeling ready to do that as well. So that is all from me today. I hope that you found this interesting, useful, enjoyable, or any of those mix, and it can prompt you to have a bit more of an understanding and lean towards looking at your art and feeling within your art as to what's helpful for you. What might not be helpful for you at different times is different to somebody else. And I'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow night. We have videos scheduled every day, and there's another one scheduled for 7 a.m. tomorrow and for day 3. So thank you so far for all your efforts in creating art. I really, really appreciate this, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. So catch you later. Bye bye.